Welcome to Mom Brain, where we cover topics such as stages of ages, parenting through grief, letting adult kids be adult, pregnancy, stress management, maintaining yourself, sex life after kids, and more. So today we have Laura of Higher Minds, and we are going to be talking about youth mindset mentorship. Um, Laura, start off by just kind of telling us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, sure. So I started my career as an elementary school teacher. I worked locally and abroad. And while I was teaching third graders in Atlantic City, I was getting into yoga and different spiritual practices and doing my training. So I started to incorporate some of the things I learned with the children because, especially in the inner city, I saw a lot of children with a lot of anger issues, just not knowing how to deal with those big emotions like anger, like frustration. And once I started incorporating simple practices every morning, just a few minutes, like I did notice that a lot of the kids were using them and changed. So it just like made my interest go even further and further. I
Mhm.
studied even more in India, focusing on youth in particular and mindfulness as well. So mindfulness basically just means being, present, being self-aware. So teaching the children how to become aware of their thoughts, identifying their thoughts, as well as feelings and emotions and knowing that they come and then they go and that they're not
Yeah.
their thoughts. And the best news is you can change your thoughts.
Yeah.
It's like I always hear when I'm in these trainings with adults, oh, I wish I knew that when I was a kid. It would have
Hmm.
relieved me from so much suffering. I'm thinking about back in my teens and early 20s when I had some depression, a lot of depression, to be honest. And it's like, oh my goodness, there's medicine, natural medicine I could have been using. So it's just helped me so much as well that it's one of those things like when you feel the change, you obviously want to share that with
Yeah.
others. And my others are happen to be little kids.
So now, while you don't have kids of your own, uh, the podcast it's not just for moms, right? Because you are a woman and you give care to children. Um, I wanted to I wanted to bring you on here because I felt like the work that you do could be beneficial to women caregivers who may be listening that say, I've had women on who are grandmothers or teachers or, it's beneficial to have it's always beneficial to have like a second perspective, right? But to learn how, I'm this mom every day. I am momming with my own thoughts and emotions that can sometimes be difficult to have someone come in from the outside and kind of say, "Hey, let me help you through your parenting and teaching the kids how to navigate and get through these big things that they're struggling with." Um, so tell me
Yeah,
a
I
little.
definitely could have advice with that. I mean,
Yeah.
as a teacher, as a mom, as like an
Mhm.
aunt, or whatever the role is, you always come to a moment where you're like, oh my goodness, I sound just like my mom, or I sound just like my dad, right? That moment you're like, oh my goodness, because we just automatically, it's programmed in us and we're
Mhm.
wired to react in a certain way. It's just natural,
Yeah,
So it's like,
yeah.
so just kind of learning new ways and like seeing different habits. For an example, when a child is experiencing, say, a big emotion, maybe crying, I hear it all the time in the school. It's like, it's okay, right? Or you want to like calm them
Yeah,
down. It's okay. But
yeah.
like just kind of changing that conversation of like helping them like identify the emotion and also
Yeah, yeah.
letting it fully release. Like sometimes, you
Yeah.
know what? You just need to cry it out. Let them finish
Uh-huh.
the cry. Like be
Mm,
with them with the cry and be like, you know what? I feel that sadness too sometimes.
yeah.
But with the child, it's amplified. So it seems
Yeah.
like, but we all feel that type of sadness or anger throughout the day. So also knowing that there's no bad feeling. So a lot of the kids feel shame or embarrassment or guilt or like, why am I feeling this way? Like, this is not good if I'm feeling this way. But we want to explain that we don't want them to like, suppress or block it. We really just want the emotion to flow all the way through in its completion and right, let it go, let it out. and then it will pass. So
Yeah.
I noticed that, as well as just like when I was a kid, it was like a lot of like timeouts. So which is needed. There's a, behavior, there's a consequence. Now we're kind of
Yeah.
shifting to more of taking time ins throughout
Mm.
the day. So it's just like a new concept, a new way to look at it. Cause so if you take just like a couple minutes, they have in the house, like I recommend some kind of peace corner, Zen den, where you can set up with your child some things that they like. Like I use this breathing ball a lot. I use this Medi Teddy. He's awesome. He does all the yoga poses with the kids, maybe like
So
a stuffed
cute.
animal, a picture, a book, like a calming stone. Timers are great. So
Yeah.
many different things. And they take the time throughout the day to go in there, not when they're, but like just to take a time to connect to
Yeah.
their inner peace. So then when the time does come, they can know, you know what, I'm starting to feel anger. I can now identify it, right? Instead of,
Yeah.
you know what, I'm going to hit my brother, you know what, they'll start to slowly choose, I need to sit for a moment and take a breath in my peace corner. And sometimes that's all it takes, even for adults. Sometimes all it takes is to walk away from a
Yeah.
situation, take a breath, right?
Yeah.
It has to be modeled, and there has to be space within the home to,
Yeah.
cultivate this.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. I'm just gonna turn off a light real.
Yeah.
My adult kid came in, decided it would be, smart to turn on this bright light while I'm recording. Um, but anyway, um, yeah, I've noticed throughout my parenting myself that so I became a parent at 14. So clearly I had no emotional regulation, I had no emotional intelligence, and that's obviously changed throughout my parenting career.
Mhm.
Um, and I try to be more and it's a process because it's, a whole nother conversation of emotional regulation and learning to express emotions in a healthy way and things. But I try to be intentional with having conversations about emotions. And I for a very long time heard crying was like, stop, like enough, we're not crying, we're not, you get over it kind of thing.
Mhm.
Because that's what I expected myself to do. So naturally that's what I taught them to do. But now, what are we crying about? Like, what is happening? What are we upset about? Talk through that kind of thing. One thing that I noticed on your website that I thought was really cool, under schools, you have birthday parties. Tell me, tell me a little bit about that because I've never seen anything like that before. That
Like
sounds
going
really cool.
Yeah, well, now like they have all kinds of activities that people come in your home for nails and whatnot. So, I mean,
Mhm.
yoga is always a fun activity. So I'll do like fun games and yoga activities, different like mindfulness crafts with them as well, like making a glitter timer jar, doing a mandala, things like that. And just that's my thing, like making it fun.
Yeah,
Like that's what children bring out of me, that childlike spirit. And it's like you'll want to do it if you're enjoying it, if you're having a good time, where it's not like I just
yeah,
meditate still and close my eyes. I can't do that. Like even adults, like we think that like, oh no, like it sounds good, it looks good, but I can't sit for 10 minutes still. It's
right. I've got too
so
much to do. Yeah,
so showing them
yeah.
like meditation and mindfulness can look a different way. It can be nature walks, chanting a certain song, through music, obviously, through art and painting. They can find their calm. It doesn't have to look a certain way.
Mhm. Yeah, that's really cool. Um, so so you also have services for adults too, right?
Yes.
Um, Tell me a little bit about that.
So I do corporate trainings, like lunchtime breaks, like doing like mindful eating exercises, or just like throughout the day, how we can just take a break. And because studies have shown like the production goes up when just they take like 2 5-minute breaks throughout the day of we could be a calm stretch or just breathing is sitting all day at a desk, obviously. So just showing them things they can even do at their desk. Different chair yoga is very popular with adults as well.
Okay. Uh, excuse me, sorry. Um, and this is just for me. Do you provide services virtually, or is it all? Because I know like birthday
Now,
parties and things like that.
my main offering, what I'm like really going into now during the pandemic, I started mentoring children because they were going through like a lot of anxiety, obviously social issues, and I started a mindfulness program for one-on-one, and it's all done virtually. It's a 6-week program. I tailor it to fit the kids' needs. And I start really as young as 4 or 5 up to teenagers. So I work with the little ones all the way up to adolescents. And I even do teen groups at times I offer and children groups where we can all work together, which is nice because especially with teenagers to share is very important. They learn from one another.
Oh, nice,
Yeah.
nice. Okay. Written actually workbook, um, Mom Brain workbooks. So
Nice.
that's where I was like, you know what?
Yeah,
I wish
I
I
love
could turn this into
it.
a podcast. Yeah.
That's awesome. So you can put like the link in there and everything too to the
Oh, I
workbook.
didn't even think about that. That's
Yeah,
probably a good idea.
sure. Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah. Thank
Now,
you.
do you sell them? You sell it online, right? The workbook? Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's great.
And I was thinking about creating a program, like a specific program for, because I just kind of use the workbooks, if I'm coaching a mom kind of thing or a woman caregiver. But I'm thinking about making like a program specifically for that with the workbooks and stuff like that. And another thing that I found interesting too is your education. So you hold a bachelor's in psychology and a master's in education, specializing in child and adolescent development and youth mindfulness, um, which is, kind of intriguing to me because in the world of coaching, and mentorship, you don't necessarily have to have these things. Um, you know, one thing I went to school for psychology with the intentions of opening a therapy practice and decided not to because I would rather coach instead. So I always find it interesting when people have backgrounds in psychology and things like that. And you know, I would imagine if I'm looking for someone to provide a certain type of service as a parent, especially you're providing the service to my child, I look for education. What is it that and life experience is important too, but what is it that kind of stands you out? And sometimes it can be that education. If you've got
Yeah,
life experience in what you do and you have the education to support it.
I think just my overall experience with teaching various ages of children from
Hmm.
toddlers to teens. And I also taught abroad. So I taught in Norway for 3 years at an
Yeah.
international school. I taught in Korea for a year and in Colombia. So I have also a perspective of different cultures and
Yeah.
how they deal with behavior, with emotions, with regulating. And it's very interesting to see that and to learn and take kind of the best practices from everywhere I taught in every country and kind of making it fit to our American society.
Yeah, yeah, that's really cool too.
Yeah.
Um, um, if you can give one pointer to moms, grandmas, aunties, women caregivers who are like, I have this child who they are just very angry, they're very easily frustrated, what pointer would you give to a woman caregiver in kind of nurturing the emotions when you aren't the greatest at doing it for yourself?
That's a good question. I
Thanks.
recommend doing it with the child.
Mm,
So the most profound effects I find is when the parents are also involved and they go in the peace corner, say with them, and just for a couple minutes do the breathing exercise, because then they realize, oh, that's helping me, because children usually do what they see. So
yes.
next time you get angry, if they see that they're gonna want to do it more and more and more.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would start so simple, as in every day we're going to sit still and silent and take 3 breaths. And like literally that, like how long can that take? Right. So it's not so overwhelming. It's not like I don't have time for this, because I get it. We're always so busy with our
Yeah.
schedule. And I'm
Yeah.
telling you, just that profound, like sitting, like you have maybe one hand on the heart, one hand on the belly, and just sitting with the child in stillness and in silence, where they're practicing just how to still their body just for a moment, just a little bit. And just after, just being with them in that presence and then taking that throughout the day. It's really good to do. I would recommend like straight in the morning, if possible, like before school, but if not, it can be done before bedtime. Just make it part of either a morning routine or a bed routine. There's already routines in place for the morning and evening, usually when you have
Right.
children.
Yeah.
So just
Yeah.
like, okay, I can do 3 breaths. I feel like that's manageable and simple. It's not like too overwhelming. And then it can build from there. If they like it, they can keep going or maybe extend longer.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That's a really good suggestion.
It's
And it's
just
so
simple,
simple.
that's what
Yeah.
I like about it. It's so
Yeah.
simple, because we tend to make things like so complex sometimes. It's like, no, it's really not that complex.
Yeah. And it's a way to kind of spend time with them. I will say my youngest has been really real special lately. And I get to a point sometimes where I'm like, you know what? I need time separate because I feel like I've tried everything. I've yelled, I've lectured, I've done all the things. I've tried to maybe ignore it.
Yeah.
And I can say that I haven't thought of something that simple. It's just you know what? I am not happy with your behavior lately, but I still love you, which I make sure to do. Hey, you know what? Not happy with your behavior, but I still love you. You're still an amazing kid. We just got to work on things. But something as simple as just taking 3 seconds to just breathe with them, is not something that I would have thought about. So I think that's a really, really, really good suggestion.
And it's like a different way of spending time, because usually when we're with people, we feel like we have to be doing or talking.
Yeah.
So just the silence with someone and just being present, like it is sometimes like you just feel their love, and like you don't need the words.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need to hold a little bit of calm space and
Yeah.
just to
Yeah.
connect, because that's our true nature. In yoga, we learn Satchitananda is our true nature, which is full of truth, full of love, and full of bliss. And it's all within us when we just take a moment to remember and connect. And it's like, okay, everything's okay now.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything?
I think that was really
Is,
good. I think that
yeah.
was had some tips for parents. And
Yeah. So let everybody know where we can find you.
my website is thehigherminds.com, and I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Higher Minds Yoga. So please follow me and keep in touch. Thanks so much for having me.
Perfect. Thanks for being here and look for her on Just the Who of Us podcast as well. Say what I want you to say.
I know, Mom. I know, Mom.
Okay, that was good. Thank you. Visit www.philology.net to check out our workbooks, autobiography, receive our weekly wrap ins, monthly blog emails, and much more.